Dear students, welcome to class 10 English. So students, today we are going to read poem 7 from your textbook. First slide, the name of the poem is Animals. So about the poet Walt Whitman. The poet is an American poet and he was a very famous essayist and a very famous journalist, and he was very famous for his work, and he's among the most influential poets in America, and he was called the father of free verse. He has never used verse in his poem. Introduction of the poem Animals. Just pay attention. Animals is a poem written by Walt Whitman where the poet admires the animals for being calm, composed and self-satisfied, and contrasts their qualities with those of human beings. He finds the animals to be free from all greediness, ego and servility, as well as more human than human beings. He would prefer to shun the world of human beings and live with animals. He said he will leave this place and he would like to live with animals. So just have a look at stanza 1. I think I could turn and live with animals as they are so placid and self-content. I stand and look at them long and long. Here, what is the poet saying? In this stanza, the poet expresses his desire to turn away from human beings and to live with animals, because he feels that animals are calm, and they are quiet, and they are satisfied, they are contented. The poet indirectly comments on the restlessness and greed and dissatisfaction among the human beings. He is so much impressed by the nature and qualities of the animals that he prefers to live among them. He gazes at the animals for very long time and desires to be with them. Now just have a look at the word meaning of this stanza. We have placid, that is calm and peaceful. Contained, that means keep up control. Just see the poetic devices. We have the use of the vowel I over here. That's why assonance, repetition is there, long and long. Then anaphora. I word is used to start off the two consecutive lines. Now stanzas 2 beta. We are going to read. They do not sweat and whine about their condition. They do not lie awake in the dark and weep for their sins. They do not make me sick discussing their duty to God. Not one is dissatisfied, not one is demented with the mania of owning things. Here it is talking about the animals. The poet continues with his appreciation of animals in contrast of human beings. The animals, according to Walt Whitman, are satisfied about their lot and never crave for anything. Whatever is given to them, they are satisfied that, and they don't want more. As they are innocent, they do not have to spend sleepless nights because they do not commit crimes or sins, and therefore they do not have to repent their actions, because animals have clear conscience. They do not pray to God for forgiveness. All the animals are contented and do not hanker after worldly materialistic things or the possessions. The stanza is in fact a comment on the materialistic race among human beings to accumulate more and more and more and more. See the word meanings over here. You can note down in the textbook or you can take the screenshot. Let's see the poetic devices, students. We have anaphora, the use of the repeated words at the beginning of two or more consecutive lines. They do not, they do not. Then metaphor is there, sweat and white refer to the cries and complaints of human beings. Now we'll come to stanza 3. Not one kneels to another, not to his kind that lived thousands of years ago. Not one is respectable or unhappy over the whole earth. So they show their relations to me and I accept them. They bring me tokens of myself. They evince them plainly in their possessions. Now here the poet Walt Whitman wants to go and live with animals because they enjoy equality and nobody bends. Nobody bends before others. Animals do not bow before any saints or their ancestors who lived a long time back in the past, ancient times. All the animals have such a sense of equality that none claims respect, nobody claims respect and from others and none is burdened with sorrow. So the poet appreciates the relation of animals and believes that once the qualities found in animals were human qualities. Once now we can see in animals, we used to see it long back in human beings. Human beings have given up those virtues, but the animals have preserved them still with them. Now see the word meanings over here. We have a poetic device, the comparison. Metaphor, the inner qualities of humans are referred to as tokens. So there we have used the metaphor. Just make a note. So now we have come to stanza 4. I wonder where they get those tokens. Did I pass that way huge times ago and negligently drop them? Now what the poet wanted to say over here, in this stanza, I stands for not only the poet or the narrator, but it stands for the entire human beings in general. It stands for the human beings in general. The poet believes that in good old times, human beings have had the virtues of modesty, contentment, innocence, selflessness, etc., etc., which they have lost completely with the passage of time. Now these qualities are to be found where? Are to be found among the animals. The poet remarks that animals have picked up these virtues traits which were dropped down. See, which were dropped down by human beings. The poet implies that the animals have acquired the admirable traits while human beings have abandoned them carelessly. Negligently means carelessly. Now let's come to the theme of the poem. Just see the slide. I have written some value points related to theme. So the poem brings out the contrast between human beings and animals. In the good old days, men possessed good God-like qualities, which they have shed with the passage of time. So with the time and all, that values and all virtues are coming down. The animals still retain the virtues that have been lost. And what they do, lost by the human beings. Thus, one would feel more at home with animals rather than with human beings. Animals lead a life free from greed, jealousy, ego, and discontentment. Their world is marked by peace, equality, and contentment. Now, what is the message? Human beings have the poem Animals. The poet seems to suggest that human beings, the crowning glory of God's creation, have shed their noble virtues and values and turned into uncivilized beasts, whereas the animal seems to exhibit the qualities that the human beings used to have. if this is true, it is better to live like animals than human beings. See the sarcastic comment he is saying. Human beings whose society is marred by the hypocrisy, greed, ego, hatred, discrimination and materialism. Why to stay with human beings then? The poet seems to give the message that human beings must try to rediscover and imbibe the virtues which they have lost in the process of civilization. They ought to return to a state of innocence and sincerity and learn to stay calm and contented with who they are and what they have got. They should shed their false sense of respectability and refrain from practicing any discrimination in the name of God or religion. They must also learn to stay away from the mania of owning things. Thank you, students. Hope you have enjoyed this poem and you have understood. Thank you. All the best.